Right. Well, we still have a lot of people to join, but for the moment, it looks like leadership behavior is a strong number one answer.
For those that are just joining us, feel free to use the QR code, or we have a link in the chat. And we have an active poll going on right now. What most shapes your culture day to day?
Of the people who voted for how leaders behave, does anybody want to share why they picked that?
Was it anonymous, Constantine, that you don't know?
Yeah, it's such a confidential thing, you know. Yeah, let's keep it for ourselves, right? Come on, since you spoke up, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my experience has been mostly folks try to mirror the leadership behavior. If the leadership is aggressive, they think they have to mirror the behavior and copy it mostly. And then, of course, you may have, like we all may have seen in some places, you know, the aggression. Again, that's what it is. I think you try to copy what you think is the best so that it helps you and, all the other stuff. So that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah, very good answer. All right, so for anybody who just joined, we're doing a live poll, two options via QR code in your camera or in the chat. There's a link. We're answering as a warm up what most shapes your culture day to day. All right, maybe we flip it. Who picked something else and why, other than how leadership behaves?
So Constantine, it's Tom again. I had actually picked what gets rewarded. That's
Ah,
what I actually had picked. And I've seen both. And the reason I picked that was because uh, in few of the roles I have been, I used to work very closely with the marketing sales teams, right? And even we, part of that extended team would get rewarded based on certain metrics,
yeah.
and I know I'm being recorded, so we would work in certain favorable metrics and work things in to work it out in such a way that the team got rewarded positively. So that also is a play overall.
100%. They all are. All right.
Yep. Yep.
Who picked what gets tolerated? That's an interesting one. Yeah. Anybody?
Sure. I picked what gets tolerated partially because there's often a difference between what a company or the leadership says and then what it does. And I'm sure we've all experienced it because I see a few nodding heads.
Spot on, Rachel. Yep, I've definitely experienced that. And Daniela has her, thanks for sharing. And Daniela has her hand up.
Yeah, so hi, thank you all. I'm joining from Austria, Salzburg. It's my first time. And I've worked a lot in culture change and also with leaders. And of course, it's important how they behave, but there's also the values that get sometimes, let's to say, the description of the values doesn't fit together then with how the leaders behave. And also, like with teams or with people that are working long in a company, they sometimes get rewarded or get tolerated for for things that are maybe not aligning with the cultural values or with the behaviors. So yeah, so also chose the rewarding and gets tolerated because it happens more often.
Yeah. Okay, last chance for any newcomers to participate in our poll. What most shapes your culture day to day? If the dials don't move within the next 30 seconds, then we'll get started, okay? Okay, so Kathy, let's put up
Ready?
our main deck.
All right.
Okay, so let me just set the scene, and then Kathy will take us through the biggest part of our experience today. So my name is Konstantin Popovic. Plenty of people call me KP for those who don't know me. And I'm the chapter chair for Conscious Capitalism in New York City. Yeah? And so we're going to talk about conscious culture today. And culture is such a big word. Hundreds of books have been written about it. You can find many, many definitions. Obviously, we have a particular point of view and just a couple of thoughts to get us started. So we actually just talked about that, right? Culture is what is lived, not some values poster on the wall. Also, every company has a culture, whether the leadership is paying attention to it or not. We believe having a conscious culture is a competitive advantage. And AI is adding new relevance to the need for having a conference culture. I think we're already seeing this in terms of the impact of impact on employment, but also on kind of the fears that are going around in organizations and so on, right? So the rest of this will define what do we understand by conscious culture. But before we jump into this, because there's always new people, I just wanted to quickly introduce what is conscious capitalism. So for those who are new, Kathy.
It should have changed. Do you not see the?
Oh, there we are. Okay. So, conscious capitalism is a movement, is an organization, and a business practice, right? And so that is kind of what we're doing in these webinars. And the business practice to reshape the purpose, perception, and practice of capitalism because we believe that business should be a force of good. And so there's four tenets, and this is the fourth in our webinar series. So the fourth tenet, if you click to the next page, for those who are new to the four tenets, one is having a higher purpose beyond making profit. The second one, really important, is stakeholder integration, not just considering your internal and external stakeholders in its completeness, but actually integrating their needs into your business. Number three is conscious leadership. What does it mean to be a conscious leader? And then passing that on to the next level of leadership. And then finally, today, we're going to talk about conscious culture or caring cultures. Okay. Now, in New York, we have a manifesto because we have a certain context here. Yeah. And the context is that this has always been the epicenter of, raw, unrelenting capitalism. And we have a mission. We want to make it the epicenter of capitalism that works for everybody. So that's the mission. And of course, that mission applies globally, but New York City just happens to be the place where kind of this manifests itself, this difference manifests itself the most, right? So Conscious Capitalist New York City is where we regroup as conscious leaders for conversations, experiences, and partnerships that turn intention into action, right? And that is also the spirit of this webinar series. Next slide. So they're from our community to our community, yeah? And they're certainly not meant to be lectures, but participatory experiences. So I encourage everybody to take part in conversation, and there'll be exercises as well that Kath will take us to. We do the four tenets on a quarterly basis, and then ad hoc we do other subjects. So in June we'll have a very different subject. And then we're also open for suggestions on collaborations and other subjects, right? And with that, let's dive into conscious culture. Over to you, Kathy.
Great. Thanks so much. So as Konstantin said, I'm Kathy Eastwood, and we're going to talk about conscious culture. It really starts with intent, right? And typically when you think about this and the tenets of that Konstantin just talked about, higher purpose is the first and foremost starting point, right? We are doing this and we're in business for something more than ourselves, right? We're going to have values. We're thinking about all of our stakeholders. And to create that conscious culture, we have to start with that intent first. But to have that true culture, then really make sure that it's not words on a wall. And I think we've all seen this, where someone puts up the values for a company. We talked about it in the poll where, you say one thing and do something else, right? The culture is actually the actions, the behavior, the processes, the relationships, the rewards, everything behind it, and what is happening on the day-to-day perspective. So that's what we want to look at. For those of you that have not heard about the field guide, there's a book, Conscious Capitalism Field Guide. It's actually, I have it right here. I use it quite a bit. It's a bit of a Bible for me. But it actually has a lot of this information in it, and it has different worksheets. And that's what we take time in these sessions, is to help walk you through it, give you a chance to talk to each other about it and participate in it. Because it's one thing to read the words in a book, it's another thing to actually start to apply it. So one of the things, for those that know, I have Greg's on, so he's going to know. I'm going to test. Greg, do you remember what the acronym was for conscious leadership? I'm putting you on the spot.
I do. That's fine, Kathy. Yeah, it's normal to put me on the spot. Normally I roll with it. I do not remember the acronym for conscious leadership, but if we have about 20 minutes, I can go through and pull it out.
No, it's all good. It's selfless was the acronym for conscious leadership. All right. So I know you won't be surprised. We've got one for conscious culture as well. And it's tactile. Okay. So selfless for conscious leadership, tactile for conscious culture. And what Raj and Timothy really are great at is giving us these acronyms to help us remember. So with tactile and thinking of some words around conscious culture, what are some words that come to mind that might fit this acronym? And feel free to write it in the chat or speak, just blurb.
Mindful, maybe?
It's a good word, not in the acronym though.
There's
So I
no
definitely
M.
like
Oh,
the word.
sorry, in the acronym. Up.
We got empathy. Yep, good word. Any other guesses?
I always say
Caring.
things that could be felt by your heart.
Things that can be felt by your heart.
Caring.
Yep. Caring. Yep. Good. We've got action from Andrea.
Trust.
From Bob.
Yeah.
Perspective. Listening. All great words. Compassion. Teaching. Great. I love them all. So we're going to walk through them. Attitude. Great. Wisdom. These are all, and all, every one of these, not all of them are going to be in this acronym, but that's the spirit of what we're looking at, right? And you're thinking about tactile is the touch, it's the feel, right? Culture really is about feeling. And so it's trust, authenticity. It's about caring. We definitely heard caring quite a bit. Transparency, integrity, learning, and empowerment. Okay, so all think about being. And so often when we are in companies, we have a tendency to be doing. We got to get things done. But conscious culture is when you think about the being side of it as well. It's about balancing the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And that's what successful conscious businesses are able to do. They're thinking about both. We definitely need to deliver results. This is not an either or, the people or performance, it's both. Okay, so if we look at each one of these, first we have trust, right? And what is trust? Trust is the confidence that people are going to do what they say, that they're going to act with the best interest of others in mind, that there's psychological safety. So you want to be thinking about how to build consistency between what you say and what you do. And it's very easy to break trust when expectations and those behaviors don't align. If anyone's familiar also with the 5 behaviors by Patrick Lencioni, he starts with trust, right? If you don't have trust in an organization, it is nearly impossible to have the difficult conversations, to debate, to hold each other accountable. So trust becomes that pillar for everything else. And trust is something you can't hire. I've talked to a lot of different leaders, and yes, we have to have trust. I'm going to hire this person and I trust them and it's going to work out. You have to build trust, right? You can't hire trust. You have to build it as a leader. So the next one is authenticity. Okay, this is about showing up as your real self, not someone that you think leadership requires you to be, right? This is about being honest, transparent, and grounded, and not performing or hiding behind a role. What's interesting is when I think about some of these words and as we're going through them, a lot of this comes down to the leader, right? Really making sure they show up with authenticity. But you also want to think about how do you allow this to filter through the entire organization? Because what you want is you want everybody in your organization to be able to show up authentically, to be able to be themselves, right? There's no mold to say you have to show up just like this. The idea is we want people to bring their whole self to the table. A lot of you guess caring, right? And empathy really comes into this word as well. We are human first. And it's not just about our roles or our outputs. This is about understanding what others are experiencing, being able to balance empathy with accountability. So caring is, remembering that there's people on the other side. For anybody that's had to go through restructurings of companies, there is a way to do it with dignity and respect. There's a way to take care of individuals as you're going through it. And we always need to remember who's on the other side. And unfortunately, this element tends to get lost in the shuffle when we're rushing, right? Priorities come up. We have the best intent, but all of a sudden we're like, oh my God. And just our control tendencies come out, trying to get things done, making sure we're delivering or meeting the deadlines. But we need to constantly come back to caring and remembering the people behind it. Next is transparency. Transparency is about openly sharing information and context. And for a company to create that culture, it really is ensuring that we're expressing where we're going, why we're going there, and why it matters, right? Because when we can provide that transparency, then we're reducing confusion for others. I often think about what happens when you think, oh, I'm just going to protect everyone. We don't need to tell the organization some of the muddiness that's going on. What happens when we don't share some of this information? Has anyone been in that vacuum of information? Rachel's giving me, I got to see her eyes. People make up their own story. Spot on, Andrea, right? There's confusion. So we think as leaders, we're doing the right thing to protect our people. They don't need to know the ugliness. But when we're doing that, we are actually causing more confusion. They are making up their own stories. So a conscious culture is stopping to make sure, is everyone aware? And sometimes it's about saying, it's okay, I don't know the answers. I will let you know as soon as I do. Or, listen, this information isn't relevant at this point. I can't share it. Or if I do share, it may be explaining why you can't share something. But as a bottom, a basis, we should always be thinking about being as transparent as possible. And that's what creates that culture. It creates alignment. It creates clarity. and it helps people be comfortable. Next is integrity, right? Doing the right thing even when it's difficult or inconvenient. Really following through on those commitments, whatever we said we were going to do, and making decisions that align to our values. So this is why it's so important to start with our intent. What is our purpose? What are our values? How do we intend to operate as a business? Integrity then comes into making sure that you're showing up based on how you intended to show up. Learning. Execution's two best friends are simplicity and transparency. A quote by Chris McKenzie. Yes, absolutely. We need to make sure we're helping our people on that, that integrity, that transparency, all of that. Thanks for sharing that, Robert. So learning. Another way to share this is also creating a growth opportunity, making sure that we have growth-minded, a mindset in the organization. Carol Dweck, I don't know if anyone's read her book with the growth mindset. This is a great opportunity to have people thinking out of the box, having a willingness to reflect, adopt, and improve continuously, right? When you create a culture that's open, you want people thinking about, okay, what can we do better? How can I improve? How do I think about this, right? When you have a learning culture, people want feedback. You know, you are doing retrospectives, not to place blame or anything. It's not, mistakes then aren't seen as failures, but they're seen as inputs for improvement, right? That's the culture we're trying to look at. And when you think about each one of these tactile, and we have one more to go, but you have to have that trust first and foremost to be able to give the feedback. You need to be authentic so that people feel comfortable and know that you're not just saying the words, right? They need to know that you're being honest and truthful. So each one of these are interrelated to make sure that you're really showing up and building that culture. And then the last one here is empowerment. So I love this one because when you think about the culture you're looking to build, again, it's not just about words on a slide. It's not just about the growth mindset, but making sure people feel comfortable taking on the activities, taking ownership, and contributing at their highest level, right? I think sometimes we tend to think, oh, we have to care about our people. We have to take care of our people at all costs. Well, we need to create a two-way street. We need to be empowering our people to step up and also take on the responsibility and the ownership, right? This is where this starts to blend into the conscious leadership, where we still have results that we need to deliver and we have to execute, right? So we need to make sure we understand what the expectations are, but also provide the autonomy and that space for people to learn, take on things themselves, to fail, to learn, and to build, right? So this starts to get back into trusting people to make decisions. So all of this is interwoven. So anything I shared here, surprising? Tom's got his hand up.
Sorry, I talk less, you know. Yeah. So again, yes, this is. I mean, this is lovely, right? Again, this is fantastic in the sense of like this makes sense to me. I think you touched on it before I was going to raise my hand. That the leadership. I think that is what embodies if these are followed or not. Because I have experiences where I have had leaders who embodied these things worked. Leadership changed. This whole thing fell apart. Same thing with me. I tried to put this in, but if the other leaders or my senior leadership doesn't align, then it doesn't work. But I think the whole alignment, you did touch on it, but the whole alignment is very important for this to work.
Yeah,
Stop.
I agree. And leadership is a big part of it, but we need to understand what we're building and why. And I've had people say to me, like, I can't do anything. My senior leadership isn't conscious, so therefore I can't do anything. We all have the ability to show up and own our own actions and impact others. And when we continue to do the right thing and we deliver results by doing the right thing, that's when people go, oh, what's that person doing? What's Tom doing differently? I need to do a little more of what Tom's doing. So there is that opportunity to influence even when it is not the culture. And I think that's the opportunity here.
It's contagious, Kathy, is what I want to say is that people start to notice, people start to gravitate towards that conscious center of gravity. So that's exactly been my experience.
I
Yeah,
love that
it's
word
like you
contagious.
inspire others to do good and want to live your way, that they see you're happy and successful. They want to do it. It inspires others to be themselves and to live that way.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. And Gina walks around with her heart all the time, and that just makes me smile and feel better. Absolutely.
Maybe one thing I wanted to add, Kathy, because all of these are amazing qualities and all positive and definitely desirable. But sometimes the tough choices come when something bad happens or when you have employees that are not behaving like this. And as a leader, one of the toughest things you have to do is to be maybe more aggressive, perhaps. I don't know if that's the right word, with the people that don't behave as your culture demands, and then see what you have to do with it. I've personally struggled with this, and I don't know, I want to throw it all to the team as well, that sometimes tough choices have to be made because some elements, if they're disrupting the culture, that's the worst thing that can happen.
Wissam, you're spot on, and I think we talked a little bit of this on conscious leadership. And if anyone didn't get a chance to watch that one, they can watch the recording on it. But at the end of the day, a conscious leader actually has a responsibility to deliver results for the business. Because if we're not delivering results, whatever that purpose is, whatever it is, then we don't have a business. And that's where the leaders have to sometimes have difficult conversations. They need to make sure that people are showing up the way they need to show up. And that starts with making sure everyone knows what are the expectations. And one of the values can be accountability. I expect everyone to be accountable, to take ownership. That's not a negative thing to do. So, all righty. So, any other questions, thoughts? Excellent. We're going to let you guys get into a little bit of exercise. Oh, Danielle, I see a hand up.
Oh, yeah, and just a quick thought maybe on this. From all these great qualities, I also had a great experience with the self-awareness. When you're self-aware of how your own whatever behaviors or patterns influence others, especially when you're in conflict or in communication topics or collaboration topics. So to also know, hey, what is my influence there actually, and is it the other person that's responsible, or what is my part in there? So that was also really important.
Yeah, absolutely. It all starts with self-awareness. Yep. Great. Thank you. Nadine.
Yeah. So I just want to comment on those three questions, right? Where are we going? Why are we going there? Why does it matter? To me, those are the central questions that you almost want to be able to say as a daily mantra as the team is shaping up, so that it's always top of mind. And I belong to an organization of founders, and the person who founded it over a decade ago is incredibly consistent with, why we're doing this and so forth. And I find that my experience of that repetition consistently is that I feel confident that that's what that person is always thinking about, how to deliver the next newest iteration of those foundational principles. So I can't emphasize enough how important that is. And I can't acknowledge enough that I don't do that. So I guess it's a change in behavior in store. Thank
And
you.
it is about behaviors. It's a great point, Nadine. And success comes from doing the right things over and over and over and over again. And sometimes it gets boring, but that's where success is generated, right? Doing the hard things when it's hard. So, or the easy things when it's hard. I think that's the better statement.
That's a better way to
easy
say
and the
it.
right
Yes.
things when it's actually hard to do it.
Right.
That's leadership.
Thanks.
Thanks. Gina, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in about what Wissam was
Yeah.
saying. Sometimes you do have to, people think leading with heart is all fluffy, but it's really hard to do the right thing by everyone involved, including employees and the company and what's in the best interest. Yesterday I had placed somebody in an architecture firm. I had told her, I think it was a great opportunity for her. And then yesterday I had to call her and say, you're not happy. This isn't working. I think it's best for you to look for something out. I had to have a hard conversation. And this morning, she sent me a text message. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for always supporting me, guiding me in the right direction. Like, it was hard for me to hurt somebody's feelings, but in the long run, it is the right thing to do by her and the company, all parties.
Yep. Absolutely. But I mean, you did it with compassion.
Yes.
You did it with trust, like the person trusts you that you're doing the right thing. So that's why creating a culture with these tactile allows you to have those difficult conversations.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing. So, if tactile isn't showing up in your day-to-day behaviors, then it's really not part of your culture yet. Right. And that's what we need to think about. How do we build these into our culture and make sure, because it is, as Nadine said, that the behaviors over and over and over again, that's what creates the culture. Because you can have the best intent, but until you do something about it, it is just words on a slide. So a couple of examples of different cultures. Patagonia is one that most of you probably know. But talk about integrity. They're willing to sacrifice profit for environmental change. They're open about and transparent about their supply chain and challenges. They're willing, and they've told their employees, if they go and protest for a value that they stand for, they will help come and make sure if they got arrested to bail them out. Right? So, I mean, that's living your values. The Container Store is known for heavily investing in their people for training and growth. That's a culture of learning, not just saying we do it, but putting the money behind it and making it happen. The other company, this story is in the Conscious Capitalism Field Guide, and it was really interesting to read, but Barry Weimiller, right? They talk about a people-first leadership. And during the 2009 financial crisis, when they had a major issue, they started to look at furloughing rather than letting people go, right? But they have an everybody matters philosophy. And that is part of their culture. They have a solid work-life balance, and they've got a 3.6 star rating on Glassdoor, right? That's not just words on a slide that everyone matters. It's showing up with their people. And they are a people-centric organization. And anything you read about it, Bob Chapman will tell you that they care about their employees. So I could talk all day on this topic because I'm so passionate about it. For those of you that don't have the field guide, there's actually an assessment in there, and we'll share the slides as well. But you can go do an assessment to see where you and your company shows up. Hope, if you don't mind, did you have a question?
Sorry, no.
Okay, thanks. So we have the ideal state. There's an assessment there, so you can get a sense of where you and your organization are. But let's try to, we want to do a little bit of interaction. I mean, we've had great interaction, but we're going to go one more poll. So Constantine, if you don't mind, I'll stop sharing. So there we go.
Sorry, I was on mute. So this is along the lines of what we just said. Yes, leadership is important, but in the end, it is also about individual behaviors, and everybody can be contributing to a tactile culture in their own right, right? So now we're on, same link, same QR, everything. You should see the question. And this is a little more introspective. Yeah, this is about you. So imagine when things get super busy, when things are a little tough, under pressure. What is your instinctive behavior? Is it to just move fast and decide for yourself? Is it to kind of take a break, bring the right people together and align on others with before deciding? Are you avoiding conflict or tough conversations? Do you focus on outcomes over how to get to the outcomes? Or do you step in versus empower others? And there's no right or wrong. This is a safe space. We can kind of be honest. And of course, you don't have to comment on your choice either. But I would love for everybody to participate. Yeah, that would be good to have really everybody on the call in this poll. I'm just gonna give it.
Yeah, and I think it was Daniela who said it. Self-awareness is really important. So this is that first step to understanding yourself on how you show up.
Yeah, and since we're a conscious crowd, the fact that 57% voted for align others before deciding is, of course, a little bit to be expected. But I can speak for myself. Yeah, I like to just kind of accelerate and get stuff done, and that can then oftentimes lead to number one. Anybody dares to share when they picked something that isn't align others before deciding? No obligation, but if you pick focus on outcomes over how we get there, that would be interesting to hear about. Okay, so we have just a couple minutes left. Thanks for participating. Over back to you, Kathy.
Sure. So now what I want you to think about is with what you do when you show up, what comes in that stress. Now tie it to how you think that comes across in a culture, right? So if you think about aligning others before you decide, how does that show up? Pick one word. How do you think that shows up in the culture? If it's about making quick decisions and going on, right? What does that say a lot about the culture? And if you're willing, please feel free in the chat, or if someone wants to come up, we'd love to engage. But this really is that chance to reflect on what that does. Yeah, we've got some great, I've done all of those at different points and now tend to pause and think first, then move ahead. Great insight, Rachel. Thank you. Because what we do in those times of stress impacts those that are around us, right? And I know for me, I am someone that I'm very quick to make the decision. If someone doesn't, I like control. So when stress comes in, I just take control. That's my way. I'm a little bit like Constantine on this one. But what I've learned, that creates a culture that my team can sit back and wait. So they don't bother stepping in because I'm just going to tell them what to do eventually. And so that has, I think I'm trying to move things forward, but I've created a culture of wait and see. So
Can I add something, Kathy?
Yep.
So again, 100%. I was again, as I said, over a period of time, I kind of came to the getting the team involved precisely for the reason, like you said. I don't. End of the day, I need to take my 3 days off if I have to take. I don't want it to be my choice, right? So that's why I ended up building teams where we had a way that like you're saying, if there's a problem, we align, and it's a collective kind of decision, unless it's a stalemate. For the precise reason, I don't want to be woken up at 2 a.m. I did a lot of that. So that is why I developed a process over a period of time. But exactly to your point, I did all of this as growing up. I'm still growing up, but came up with a model that I don't want to be bothered at midnight. So,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
great.
thank
Thank you for sharing. I love that.
There's a couple
Rachel?
of hands up.
Yeah.
Rachel?
It's kind of a combination of I wrote at different points. I've done different things, and when I was focused more on stressed out, okay, got to be speedy and a little bit controlling. I not only did I get exhausted, but the people around me got exhausted. And then instead of feeling like a team, a few days later, everybody kind of felt used. So focusing on reacting versus responding was short-sighted. So I pause now more.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's that awareness, right? Listen, we're all get under stress, but we need to understand how we show up in those moments and how people react, because it's also how it's perceived. We think, oh, I'm just going to take control, everyone's going to love it, but that could come across. And the same thing with trying to align everyone, right? People are like, oh, we're never going to make a decision. So they step back, right? So every one of our actions does have an impact, and we need to be detectives and looking to understand what that is, because we are building our culture through our activities. I saw Robert had his hand up.
Hi, I'm not sure how good my connection is. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I'm going to piggyback and play yes hand off the concept of decisions and busyness, and I'm going to tie it to humor and exaggeration into absurdity. So it's the martial art of Aikido. So in September of 2018, my boss came to my team and said, the holidays are going to be a traffic jam. And the dog whistle I heard was, don't expect to take much time off during the holidays. And we had already had 4 employees on our team go on medical leave. So one traffic jam coming right up. So the other directors in our department, we really, really, really leaned in to the culture of a traffic jam. And we did what anyone would do when you're getting a bunch of teenagers into a car after like a Bad Bunny or Taylor Swift concert. And we shaped the culture of a traffic jam. Acting as if we were frantic and fast. But last I checked, anyone in a decision traffic jam, communication traffic jam, you're not moving fast. So we have to choose our metaphor, traffic jam or symphony. And so we really leaned into we exaggerated into absurdity because we had license. We had license from our management to shape the culture of a traffic jam. So we did it, and no additional employees went on medical leave. And in December, I don't know, 12, 14 weeks later, my manager confronted me and she said, you're going to make me regret ever using this term, aren't you? And I said, I don't see the problem. You wanted a traffic jam? We built you a traffic jam. I'm declaring success. Happy 2019. Let's move on. I did not get fired in the next 6 months. That's a good story for another day.
Sounds good. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. Nadine, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to share? All right. Okay, so we are this has been fantastic, and I didn't want to, this conversation is really good. I'm going to just share two more questions. We're not going to have time to go through them today, but I just want you to think about it, right? So when you realize that your actions are creating a culture, whether you mean it or not, you start with that awareness, you understand what it's building, ask yourself if that's the culture you want to create, right? And then really what is missing. If you know now the culture you want, then think about what you can do differently today to start to build that culture. And it's not just one activity, it's multiple activities over and over and over again. Yep. And love Greg's statement, alignment reduces surprises. Absolutely. So think about what's missing and think about what's one small shift that you can make this week to really drive tactile qualities into your culture. You know, so trust, authenticity, caring, transparency, integrity, learning, and empowerment. I got them all. I didn't even read those off. I'm very excited now. So with that, I just, thank you very much for going through that. We'll leave you with this last quote before Constantine is going to give you some more information about what's coming up. But remember, conscious culture means that we don't leave this to chance, right? We intentionally shape these moments by the little things we do day by day, hour by hour, month by month. So thank you. And Constantine?
Okay, so first of all, thanks everybody for joining. We are Conscious Capitalism New York City, but at the same time, we use these webinars to extend our reach far beyond this place. And so I'm particularly happy to see a lot of places, a lot of people from even outside the country. So thanks again for coming. So you'll get this presentation, and that includes the self-assessment spreadsheet. If you want to go deeper, the Conscious Capitalism Field Guide is a good idea. You find it on Amazon. We will add you to our monthly newsletter. The newsletter is really well written, actually by a human with some light touch of AI. Yeah, she takes great pride in it and is really well done. And then also you can follow us on LinkedIn. And then for those who are in New York, we have a very, very special hard to book speaker on May 21, Michael Gelb, and but you will get invitations and so on. So,
KP, for anybody who hasn't seen Michael Gelb, even a guy from Philadelphia can appreciate him. So he's
yeah, we expect you to
absolutely
show up
worth
for
the
this,
drive.
100%. Great. This is worth the train ride, no?
I completely agree. Sorry, I had to throw that one in.
No. Yeah, so actually, if you want to get to the Eventbrite immediately, there's the QR code. And with that, thanks again for, and it's also in the chat. Thanks again for participating. We love when these are live discussions, and stay tuned for the next one.
That's good.
And thanks for all the great feedback. Yes, wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.